on the azure blue, a God comes still from human size. He tinted skies with heavenly hue, and framed the worlds with his great might. There is a God, there is a God, he is alive, he is alive. In him we live, and we survive from dust our God. Time ago, a God whose voice the prophets heard. He is a God that we should know, who speaks from his inspired word. There is a God, there is a God, he is alive, he is alive. In him we live, and we survive from dust our God.
Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John. 2. Although Jesus himself did not baptize, but his disciples. 3. He left Judea and departed again to Galilee. But he needed to go through Samaria. So he came to the city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob gave to his son, Joseph. 6. Now Jacob was there. Jesus therefore, being weary from his journey, sat thus by the wall. It was about 6 hours. 7. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." 8. For his disciple had gone away into the city to buy food. 9. Then the woman of Samaria said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman? For Jews have no dealing with Samaritans." 10. Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God, and who is it who says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would ask him, and he would have given you living water." 11. Then the woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then you go that living water?" 12. Are you greater than our father Jacob, who have gave us the well, and drank from it himself, as well as his son and his livestock? 13. Jesus answered and said to her, "Whosoever drink of this water will thirst again." 14. But whosoever drink of the water that I shall give him will never thirst, but the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. Amen. 15. The woman said to him, "Sir, give me the water that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw." 16. Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come here." 17. The woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You have well said, I have no husband." 18. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you have now is not your husband. In that you have spoken truly. 19. The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our father worshipped on this mountain, and the Jews says in Jerusalem, in a place where one ought to worship." 21. Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father." 22. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. 23. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshiper will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. 24. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth.
Amen.
May God bless our reading.
Amen. Amen.
How are you?
Fine.
Well, we will have to continue to give our thanks to the Lord for His grace and mercy. I understand a lot of us are brothers and sisters of African descent. And those of you who are not from Africa, then I need to remind you that I speak English with an accent. And so, you need to bear with us. Hopefully you are going to catch the West African accent as we try to speak English. Tonight, our topic is in a question form. What is the true and acceptable worship to God? You need to get your Bibles ready. You need to get your pens and notes ready, because this is a biblical topic and we are going to use a lot of scriptures. We are going to do a lot of reading, and we will try to understand what we read from the scriptures. When we talk about worship, worship simplified has an idea of man's recognition of a sovereign God and the need to pay homage to that sovereign God, and also the need for man to be obedient to this sovereign God. Without trying to go into any technicality, that is where we need to think when we talk about worship. So once again, when we talk worship, the whole idea has to do with man's recognition of a sovereign God, which means that man is acknowledging the existence of a God who is the creator of everything we see around us. And as a result of our belief in this sovereign God, we want to pay homage to him. As a result of this belief, we want to obey him. As we obey and as we strive to devote ourselves to him, pour out our hearts to him, we are worshiping him. But we cannot worship God according to our own desires. We must worship God according to his instructions. And these are the things we are going to think about tonight. The synopsis for our study tonight is going to be trying to fortify our individual faith by reminding ourselves of the existence of God. Even though we are believers, or supposedly we are believers, some of the times our actions and inactions portray to people that we do not believe in God. If you believe in God, there are things you would like to do. And if you believe in God, there are things you do not want to do. What then is the true and acceptable worship? As members of the Lord's Church, I think some of you were just expecting me to come and talk about, oh, singing. We sing without instruments. Oh, we eat the Lord's Supper every Sunday, and so forth and so on. These are all good. But do you know that there are deeper understandings, so to speak, surrounding all the things that we do here on every first day of the week? There should be a basis upon which we do the things we do when we come here as a church. Now, without faith, it is impossible to please God.
Amen.
And therefore, for us to be qualified as people who are offering a spiritual and an acceptable worship to God, we need to be first and foremost believers of God. It sounds so simple, but it is not. It is just simple for us to verbally tell ourselves and others that we believe in God. It is yet another thing, proving that thing to ourselves and to others that we are believers in God. In the book of Hebrews chapter 11 and verse number 6, that is what the Hebrew writer wrote. He said, "For without faith it is impossible to please God. For he who comes to God must of necessity believe that he exists, and that he is the rewarder of those who diligently seek after him." And I love the word diligently, which happens to be the operative word within the Hebrews chapter 11 and verse number 6. If we are diligently seeking after God, we will get to know him, and once we get to know him, we would like to worship him in a more acceptable manner. So first and foremost, let us think deeply about our relationship with God. It is one thing just telling people or yourself that you believe in God. And it is yet another thing, having a cordial relationship with this God that we are talking about. Christianity is all about relationship with God. Christianity is about relationship. Whether or not you are with other Christians, it doesn't matter. But even in that darkness, you know you have a relationship with God. Do you know him? Do you know God? Now, how can you worship a God that you do not know? You will be a hypocrite. You will be reading some Bible passages. You can win arguments, but you cannot be accepted. If you do not know God, you cannot offer an acceptable worship. If you do not have a strong and cordial relationship with God, there is no way you can offer a spiritual worship unto this God. So I just want you to think about the existence of God. The 21st century church is faced with a number of good people, and when we say good, educated people, scholars at our various universities who do not believe in the existence of God. And when you go over there or you send your children to these universities, they try as much as possible to pollute their minds, tell them that there is nobody called God. You go to the scriptures and you have the answer in just one verse. Psalm 14 and verse number 1. And David, through the Holy Spirit, wrote, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Whenever you entertain the idea that there is no God, you are desiring to become a fool, scripturally speaking. Because these are the people, these are the scholars, these are the scientists. A number of people who claim to be atheists today are the ones we respect so much. The ones who have studied so much in this world. And they come up with a whole lot of things that fight against the concept of God. They tell us, show me your God, and I'll believe him. Show me your God. We know that for us to prove anything scientifically, the proof should be what we call empirical. I have to see it. I have to feel it. I have to hear it. I have to touch it. And unfortunately, people, when we talk about God, want to bring this kind of argument into the equation. Show me your God, and I'll believe in him. And to that, we bring out a counter question. Show me your brain, and I will believe you have one. Show me your brain. Do you have brain? You say, yeah, I want to see it. If you cannot show me your brain, but you believe that you do have the brain, then I can tell you there is a God without necessarily showing him on a plate to you. Every design in this world of necessity must have a designer. And are you not telling me that you can see the stars, you can see the sun, you can see the moon, all the vegetations around us and everything, and tell me there is no designer? We defeat our own reasoning when we question the existence of God. Isn't it the same scientist who told us that something cannot come out of nothing? And if something cannot come out of nothing, then we submit to the world. We ask the questions as children of God. Is this world not something? And if it is something, are you then telling me that it came out of nothing? God exists. And God is alive.
Amen.
And he deserves our worship. And that worship must be spiritual, and our worship must be acceptable to him. That is all that we want to help ourselves with here tonight. There is something called spiritual and acceptable worship. But we are saying that you cannot present an acceptable worship to a God you do not know. So those of us who are in Christ already, it is about time that we began to think about our relationship with this God that we claim to be knowing. And those of us who are not yet Christians, I submit to you tonight that there is a God who created the heavens and the earth and everything therein. And he deserves our worship. God is alive, and our God is everywhere. Everything points to the fact that there is a God from whom everything else emanated. He is the creator. He is the originator of everything in this world. And David, the psalmist, in the Old Testament, glorified God in an unimaginable manner. David said things that will make you want to worship this God. And I draw your attention to Psalm number 139. Psalm 139. David the king drawing the attention of humankind to the fact that in fact God exists. From verse number 1 of Psalm 139 up to verse number 6, David draws our attention to the fact that our God is omniscient. God knows everything. He is aware of the past, the present, and then the future. This is the kind of God we are talking about. As humans, we can delve into history. We can make references to a lot of things because of history. And as humans, there are so many things we can talk about because they are of the present. But how about the future? Questions like, when are you going to die? On which day would you die? And at what time? If it will happen at a hospital, which one? We are bankrupt when it comes to this kind of questions. But I came here tonight to tell you there is a God who knows everything about the future. And He is the one we have to prepare ourselves to worship, to render a service to Him, that He will tell us, well done for doing this. Psalm 139, 1-6, David wrote, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought afar off. You comprehend my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You have helped me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, and I cannot attain it." Hallelujah. Amen. This is the kind of God I came to tell you about tonight. Amen. A God who knows everything. And keep it in mind, the fool has said in his heart, he does not even have to say it to be a fool. If you harbor that idea in your heart that there shouldn't be a God, the Bible gives you a title.
Yes, sir.
You are a fool.
Yes.
So think about the number of foolish scholars we have in this world. We call them the professors, the Bible calls them fools. Our God is omniscient. And I just want us to think about that. Psalm 139, part 2, that is from verse number 7 up to verse number 12, David continued by saying that, "Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall fall on me, even the night shall be light about me. Indeed, the darkness shall not hide from you, but the night shines as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike unto you. That is the kind of God we are talking about. Our God is omnipresent. He is everywhere at any given time. Last but not the least, one of the things that we need to keep in mind in Psalm number 139 is verses 13 and 14. David reminds us that we are all creators of God. We are his creation. And verse 13, he said, "For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well." These are spiritual utterances. A man who believes in a living God. And I love the idea when he said, "I will praise you." Because I know you are an omnipotent God. Because I am aware that you are an omniscient God. Because I am aware that you are omnipresent God. I want to praise you. And when we praise our God, we praise him from the bottom of our hearts. There is something called an acceptable worship. And it begins with you and I believing in the idea that God exists. Let's move further. God deserves